All right. Well, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Doffney. I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian for the New Jersey State Library. And it is my pleasure to welcome Jon Bozard from the New Jersey State Archives to kick off our National Family History Month programming. For those of you who don't know, October is National Family History Month. So this is one of three programs that we're going to be having in celebration of that month. Next week, we will be having a program called Using AI in Genealogy. And then at the end of the month, our genealogy librarian, Regina Fitzpatrick, will be talking about how to find your women ancestors in New Jersey genealogy. So if you haven't registered for them, you can do them on our website, and we really look forward to them. So enough about that. I just want to let you know that Jon is a senior library assistant with a degree in history from Rutgers University. He's been working at the New Jersey State Archives for 18 years. He has represented the archives over the years at various events and given many presentations around the state. To expand access to the state archives collections, he has entered thousands of death records for online databases. He is currently working on data entry for the future database of New Jersey tax ratables, 1772 to 1822. As a lifelong Civil War enthusiast, he has organized and processed the Civil War regimental records and completely reorganized the muster rolls by congressional district collection, 1863 to 1865. So welcome, Jon. Thank you so much for coming in and talking with our audience today.
Oh, thanks, Andrew.
Before we jump into Jon's presentation, I just have a few housekeeping items to go over. First and foremost, we will be taking your questions at the end of the presentation, but you can feel free to submit that at any time using the Q&A or the chat feature in the Zoom dashboard. I will be distributing in a chat a copy of the mail reference packet that you can send over to the archives if there are certain records that you want. They also have electronic records request forms as well that Jon will talk about, but look in the chat for that mail reference packet. If you have trouble accessing it from the chat, it will also be available as an attachment and a follow-up email that I will be sending out. There will be a survey available at the end of the webinar, so if you have time, we ask that you please complete it. We always appreciate and love hearing any and all of your feedback. And if you want more information about the Stake Archives and their collections, their web address is on the screen there. I will also send that out in the chat once we get underway with Jon's presentation, so that you can have a live link to that. Then one last thing, I just want to do a brief overview of the Zoom dashboard, just so everybody knows where all the features are. This is what your dashboard should look like if you're using a PC or a Mac. If you're using a mobile device, the dashboard may look a little bit different, but all of the features will still be there. In the bottom left-hand corner, you can check your audio settings. So if you're using an external listening device like a headset or earbuds, you can make sure it's connected properly there. At any point during the presentation, if you have any issues, there is a raise hand button. You can click on that. That will alert me, and I will send you a message in Zoom and hopefully be able to solve any problems that you are having. And as I mentioned, if you do have any questions, there's the Q&A or the chat buttons. You can use either of them to get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to address those questions at the end of Jon's presentation. So that is everything that I have for you. So I'm going to turn it over to Jon now.
Okay. Are you seeing me?
Yep. And
Okay,
then,
so we're good.
did you start the slideshow?
I just
There,
clicked on, there we go.
there we go. Looks good.
Okay, good. All right, well, thank you, everybody. Hopefully I will answer all your questions as we go along, but as Andrew said, we'll answer questions at the end. And hopefully some of you have been to the archives before. If not, after this, hopefully you will come in and visit. You can come in. I'll be covering that in just a second. And as Andrew said, we also do research by mail, which the mail reference packet will tell you the items we can search by mail. We can only search the items that we physically own. We do have some county microfilms of records, such as naturalizations and land records that we have. So if you come in, you can research those while you're here. So let's get started. This is where we are. We're located at 225 West State Street in Trenton, right down from by the Delaware River. You can come in to do research. This is what our building looks like. In case you had been in Trenton in the years back. This was the old education building built in 1964 that became the state archives 22 years ago, I think it is now. This is what our website looks like. If you do want to come in, we do work on appointments. So you would want to click on the blue online appointment page. Once you do that, it will look like this. You can pick the date you want to come in, pick the microfilm room for looking at microfilms, birth, death, marriage. They're all on microfilm. So are wills. Many of the land records that we have are on microfilm, tax ratables, some Civil War records, Revolutionary War records, things like that. So you would just pick your time. We're open from 9 to noon. We close for an hour between 12 and 1, and then reopen again at 1 p.m. till 4 p.m. You can also pick the manuscript room. That is now open Monday to Thursday from 1 to 4 p.m. Manuscript room is just you're looking at an original document. When you're working in the microfilm room, if you have a vital record, a birth, death, marriage, a will, you need to look at it on microfilm. And then if it's not legible, we can pull the original and make a copy for you while you're working in the microfilm room. And again, here's our hours. This is, for those of you that haven't been here, this is what one of our microfilm readers and customers look like. And as I said, microfilm's open now, Monday to Friday. We opened up on Friday, the Friday after Labor Day. So 9 to noon and 1 to 4. This is our manuscript room. And just again, Monday to Thursday, we're open from 1 to 4. If you do make a manuscript room appointment, there's a section when you make your appointment. Just give us an idea of what you're looking at. If you know the collection or that you're interested in Governor so-and-so's records in this time period. That way we can get the records pulled for you, or sometimes they may be stored off-site. We can get them from our off-site storage because not everything is in our building here. That way they can be ready for you to work when you come in. In the past, we didn't do this, and people would come in and sometimes whatever they were researching was not available because it was stored off-site, and it takes us a couple of days to get everything. So what do we have? We have vital records for New Jersey. New Jersey began keeping vital records May 1st, 1848. As you can see, we have births through December 31st, 1923 right now. We have marriages and deaths. These are in original records. We actually have the paper here. May 1st, 1848 through December 31st, 1940. And then our microfilm goes beyond the records we have. This takes the pressure off health a little bit, and you can come and look at these records while you're here. We cannot search the marriages from 41 to 50 or the deaths from 1941 to 1965 because we do not have the original records here. That's going to change a little bit in January, and I will cover that once we get towards the end. And the miscellaneous records before 1848, the counties kept marriage records starting in 1795. So we do have copies of some of those, and some counties we have the originals of. And they overlap a little bit with the state marriages that begin in May of 1848. On our website, we have the indexes to marriages from May of 48 through May of 78. We have the deaths right now from May of 1848 to 78 in one database, and then 1878 through 1900 in another database. And as you can see, we are now a little past May 1867 for the death records. The data entry is ongoing. You can always check back in. We do find more records because we go through the books line by line and enter the data. So we do find records that were missed in the previous indexes. And the 1848 to 78 records, there's images of some of the records on Ancestry.com and some on Family Search, but they have not uploaded all of them yet. This is what a birth record looks like in the 1850s. It's a ledger. This is what the record was at that point. Certificates don't start until June 1st, 1878. The system changes over. As you can see, this is a nice record. Everything's completely filled out. Not all of them are like this. Many times you'll see just a father listed and no wife. It just, you get whatever the clerk filled out at the time. But this is the official record for that time period, the first 30 years that New Jersey is keeping vital records. And then this is a death record from the same period. Again, there's spots for all the information. Some may not be filled out. Sometimes when a person dies, not everybody knows the information about them. The marriage records give much better information in many cases than the death record will, but it's still something to give you clues to work with to do your research. So here we go. 1878 is what when the certificates start. They're close to the ones today. They ask, couple more questions, and they tend to be more filled out. At the early ones in the 1870s are somewhat have missing information, but they do get better as time goes on. One thing I forgot to mention, the records from 1848 to 78, we feel like we have about 60% of them here. Some were never filed, some were lost. There's a couple towns that just never turned them in. So we don't have them here. That's why they're not 100% coverage for the whole state. And as I mentioned before, the index to deaths is on our website through 1900. So you can get the citation for the records, make a list, and come in and do your research, or you can order through the website, and we will do the search for you and email you a copy of the record. If you do still want a paper copy, you can just put a note in and we will also mail you a paper copy. So these are, again, what we have on site. Birth records, which you can see on the right, through 1923, and marriage on the left through 1940. And we have the deaths through 1940 as well. The difference with having the actual paper copies here, if you have a record that needs to be certified for any reason, some legal reason, dual citizenship, we can certify the record for you. It's not done on demand. You just put your order in. It takes us about 4 to 5 weeks to process orders right now. And if you do need something certified, you can just make a note when your order is done. Or if you're in person, you can just give us a copy. We have a little form you fill out, and then we will do the certification for you. Certifications come from the original records. They don't come from the microfilm. That's why it takes us a little bit longer. Not every birth is reported when it's supposed to be. There are delayed births, and a delayed birth is exactly what it sounds like. It's done at a later date. You're getting a job, going to school, something along those lines. You realize that your birth record was never reported, so you fill out all the information, and this is a birth for somebody. The interesting thing about these, the back of the form has information about other children when people were married. Originally, these were filmed and they only filmed the front of the record. Once we got these turned into us from health, somebody found out there was all this information on the back. So the microfilm we have has the front and the back of the record that gives you all the information. Colonial marriage bonds were done from about 1666 to 1799. Not everybody is in here. You didn't have to do it. It was just a way of more or less saying you're a good person. You're going to go through with the marriage. The date of the bond most likely is not the day they got married. It's close to it. You don't get a biographical description of the people, but you will get their names, where they lived. You also do not get parents, but it is the record for that time period that the state had, well, the colony. Um, there are county marriage records. As I said, they overlap with the state records. Some do go past 1848, a couple counties. So you get the information about the people getting married, and not, again, you don't get parents or anything, but it is the record for that time. So you don't get a lot of biographical information from these, just the parties getting married and who married them. And then this is another marriage slip from 1832. Same as before. This one's from Princeton. Um, and then you just get the information again on the couple being married and who performed the ceremony. But it gives you something for the time period because it's before the state records exist. So after marriage, sometimes comes divorce. Uh, in the early part, up until about 1820, if you wanted to get divorced, it had to go through the legislature and it became a state law. Your divorce was a state law. These are published in the, I believe it's the Record of Assembly. I'm probably not getting that title right, but we do have an index. And for my last talk, I was like, let me just make sure. And I went and checked. And if you go to divorce, it gives you the law. And then below that, you can see the list of people that were divorced through the unactive legislature. Uh, after after that, Chancery Court started handling divorces. And we have the Chancery Court through 1948. Divorces are in here, mortgage issues, money issues are handled within Chancery Court. And we do have the indexes. We can pull the records for you. They vary here. Many of them are on microfilm. We have another large amount that are on paper. And unfortunately, there are some that burned in one of the fires at the State House over the years, where some are completely burned and don't exist. Others are burned and cannot be opened, and some are burned and can be opened. But in most cases, if you do need a Chancery Court record, it's not a problem. We can access that for you. New Jersey also had a state census. They started in 1855, and the last state census was done in 1915. Sorry. They're done on the 5-year, 1865, 75, 85. 1885 is the first complete state census, and as I said, they go through 1915. The good thing about this, many of you may know, the 1890 census, the federal census, does not exist. That was also burned in a fire, and later most of what was left was destroyed, unfortunately. So you can look at the 1885 census or the 1895 census and fill in some holes that are missing from the 1890 census. As you can see, this one gives age, sex, place of residence, or place of birth, whether your parents are native or not. The earlier ones have tick marks by age and don't list names except for the head of household. So this gives you more information than the earlier ones. We also have tax ratables. They run from 1772 to about 1822. These establish where your ancestor lived, what they were being taxed on, land, animals, horse, cattle, sometimes clocks, whether they had slaves, watches are sometimes taxed as well, different time periods. As you can see in the box, Joseph Neely had 350 acres. If we go to the next slide, you see that Joseph now has 180 acres, and a John Neely and a William Neely each have 85 acres. So we can surmise that uh, Joseph is possibly the father, most likely, and John and William are his sons. And at some point since the last the tax rateable was done, that they have gotten some land from their father. Um, the tax ratables list women, which you don't always find women in this time period. They also list people of color. So you do get some information that you may not get from other sources. Uh, Getting onto land, New Jersey, when we were a colony, we were divided east and west, not north and south, but east and west. There were two different lines. The Keith line is the earlier line, and then the Lawrence line shifted a little bit to the east, and that was the dividing line for East and West Jersey. New Jersey was also a for-profit colony. There were the East Jersey proprietors in Perth Amboy and the West Jersey proprietors in Burlington. Um, the East Jersey proprietors have dissolved. We have their records here. We also have the West Jersey records here. They are on deposit with us. We maintain them. The West Jersey proprietors technically still exist. I have heard that basically they just get together a couple times a year for lunch at this point. This is what an early survey looks like. You do find maps like this within some of the deeds and surveys. They're kind of fun because you can check out the landscape and match or hopefully match somewhat where your ancestors or the people you were searching for lived. And this one is from 1714. We also have survey books. These give you what the meets and bounds were of land at that time. Um, we do have, for those of you that may not know, there is a database on our website of early land records. You can access these records here, get the citations for records that you might be interested in. And also some of the records have been digitized and put up online. So you can, the ones that are digitized, you can go online and then download them and print them. And this is what an early deed looks like. This one, I believe, was from Hunterdon County. But we do have many original deeds. We still, every now and then, have people donating deeds that they have either found or collected over the years to us. From, I believe the last one we got in was from about 1706. It was a pretty early one. But they're really neat to look at. And then sometimes you will still find the seals on them. That's always fun. And as you can see here, James Harpin did not sign this. He made his mark, so he was not able to write. We also have wills from the 1660s through 1952. The early wills through 1900 are accessed through books. Many libraries have the abstracts that run till about 1820 that will give you at least a partial citation for the will. The early wills up until about the 1820s too, there is a recorded copy that was done when the will was filed. The original copy of the will we would have as well. Sometimes the original copy may not be in as good a shape. The recorded copy was written into a book. So a lot of times those are much more legible. Or you can figure out what the will is saying between the two of them. If you do order from us, we include both copies. And the early wills up until about the 1820s, many of them include an inventory. So you can see what property people had, sometimes down to room by room, books, tables, their silverware, if they had an orchard, how many trees they have and what kind of trees they are. You can always find interesting stuff within the inventories. And here's an inventory. from 1784 for Samuel Stokes. So he had cash, wearing apparel, sheets and pillowcases, just like today, bed and furniture, and things like that. Um, so this is just part of it, but sometimes they go on for many pages, and sometimes it's just, they're a couple items of clothes and they're a little bit of furniture they had, but they're interesting to look at. The wills from 1901 to 1952 are these are only available on microfilm. Since the 1901 to 52 wills are imaged, microfilmed, and then the originals are destroyed unless you are famous. We do have Fairleigh Dickinson's will in our vault. Albert Einstein's will is in there. Governor McClellan's will is in there. So they save the originals of the more famous people, Thomas Edison. But you can look at these on microfilm. After 1952, they are at the Superior Court Records Center. So if you need a will after 1952, you would have to contact them. If it's a more recent will, you should contact the county clerk, the county surrogate, to see what their policy is for getting a copy of a will. We do have some military records. They start in the colonial period. There's many less in the earlier period, and we run till World War I. We do not have World War II records here. They are federal records. And as it states there, the early conflicts, there's sparse records. And you don't get a lot of genealogical information. The Civil War records will sometimes have a description. Usually on the muster roll, it's just age and where they're living, where they're coming from, where they were born sometimes. But it does give you some information. If they filled out a volunteer enlistment, was filled out for them, that will usually have a description of them, but they don't exist for every soldier. But over time, you do get more genealogical information. These are cards from the Revolutionary War for Richard Tice. You go to the card first, it's like an index. It'll give you an overview of what they did during the war. He was young, he was a fifer, and was I believe he was at the Battle of Monmouth, somewhere on here. So you do get this. Then it leads you to Revolutionary War slips. These have some more detailed information. This slip leads you to a manuscript number 3966, an abstract of prisoners taken on the 13th of February, 1707, from the Monmouth militia. And as you can see from the card on the right-hand side, he was 14 years old. So you get more information about him, and then it leads you to this. This is the manuscript certifying that he was a soldier under command at Highlands when the enemy cut off the guard. So this is some proof that the person served. It's interesting, they all have in here that he has lost his gun and accoutrements. So this would be one item. There could be, most likely for him with the slip and the card, he's going to have many other records as well. After the war, there were damage claims done for the British and the Americans, because damage was done to property by both armies. You could have an inventory done of the items you lost. List would be done. It would be totaled up. When it went to the legislature, it kind of happened that, well, we don't have the money to pay these. So they were never paid, but the damage claims exist. So we do have a searchable database, as you can see on our website, for these. It will give you the information to request them or come in and research them. Oops, sorry. We also have a collection of Civil War photographs. These are on our website. There's roughly 350 to 400 of them. Um, Most of them are officers. We do have a new collection that's being processed, which will there is some overlap with this collection. But once the new collection is processed, most likely that's going to go up online as well. It has many more images, and it's really expanding the amount of photographs we have of soldiers in the Civil War. And many of those are privates. Some officers are in there as well, and some notable figures from the 1860s are in there as well. If you need Civil War records, you can go to our database, William Stryker's record of officers and men of the Civil War. Um, you can type in the name um, and see if a person served. It will give you the regiment they served, the company. And if you click on the description, it'll give you a small description of what the regiment did during the war. We can research these for you, but you can also come in and look at them if you make a manuscript appointment. Uh, and you will go through the original records. Many of the records are able to be handled. There is a small part of the collection that is too fragile to open at this time. But for the most part, it is available, and you can search it or have us search it for you as well. This is what a page looks like. This one doesn't have a lot of information, but you see the person's name, what their rank is, when they enrolled, and when they mustered in. The enrollment date is basically when they signed up, and then mustering in, that is when you enter, you're in the Army. These soldiers served for 9 months. And again, you can search for soldiers on our website. We also have a collection of treasury vouchers from the Civil War where you can find discharge papers for some of the soldiers, which will give you a description of them. Sorry. And when they were mustered out of the Army. And usually you get to see the amount of pay they received at the end. This is a muster roll from the Civil War. And as you can see, it's just giving their rank, their name. There is a section for remarks, which may or may not be filled out. And you can look at these, and we would provide copies if you request a search from us. And this is what a Civil War voucher can look like. Person's name, the soldier's name, muster, company, and letter. The letter of the company and the regiment is there, and the amount of pay that they were getting. These don't have, as you can see, biographical information. If they do have discharge papers, you'll receive more of that in the discharge paper. We also do not have pensions here. Pensions were done by the federal government starting in 1889, 1890. They're federal records. Some of those are available on Fold 3 if you have an account for that. Or you can still go to the National Archives in Washington, D.C. and search them in person, or request a search for them from the National Archives. Onto World War One. These are unofficial service cards. They are being digitized. Right now, they're just available on microfilm. Unfortunately, the originals were microfilmed in the late 50s or early 60s, and the originals were destroyed. Some of the films are blurry, or the images are too light to see, but we're doing the best we can to image them. They will go up on our website when the project's done, but you do get as you can see, it's a front and back card, and it has information about when the soldiers served and a description of them. So these do give you a little more information than the earlier military records did. There's also on our database, on our website, a searchable database for the World War I dead. Around 1920, the state contacted people that had lost a family member and asked for a photograph if they could send it in if they had one. And then the information cards were filled out with the information of when they served and when they were killed in action or died of disease. Uh, these have been up on our website for quite a while, probably about 10 years ago now. In going through another collection, another staff member found all these letters, and it turned out they were letters that matched up with the soldiers from their relatives when the photographs were sent in. So the correspondence is on the website too. You get a description of the soldier, um, you know, father writing in saying what their son did, what they were like. So they're interesting if you have an ancestor, or if you're interested to just, just go through. There's always interesting letters in there um, that you can find. Um, we also have naturalizations. The ones we have vary by county. If you go to our website, there's a spot for naturalizations, and it will tell you what years we are able to search. We have many that are on microfilm that we do not own copies of. The counties still have them, but this one we do have on site. Um, sorry. And as you can see, some of them do have photographs. The later ones do. There's a few counties that had a photograph of the person made, and you do get the information. These are the ones that give you more information about where they came from, when they came in, description. Um, the post 1907 naturalizations have much more information. The earlier ones, basically, you get a slip of paper saying that they are renouncing their allegiance to the king, queen, prince, or whatever that they from the country they were coming from. Um, Going back in time a little bit, we have Supreme Court case files from 1704 to 1844. The index is on our website. There's all kinds of cases in here, land issues, the Aaron Burr cases in here from him killing Alexander Hamilton. Um, there are cases about pirates, slave issues are in here. Basically, if your ancestor owned property in the 1704 to 1844 period, there's a good chance they may have ended up in here for one reason or another. It's not really biographical information, but you do get information about why they're in court and how the case went. We do have a newspaper collection. The state library has a larger one than we do, but we have about 10,000 reels of newspapers at this time. They are not searchable, so you would need a date, and then we can help you find the issue that may have an article of interest to you for marriage or a death. Um, and then we do have indexes where you can look by county and town to see what papers may exist for the people you are looking for. Um, Back to our website, this is what our website looks like. Um, if you want to get to the searchable databases, you just click here. This page is the top of our page with the databases. This down here, the multicolored box with the guy playing the saxophone in the green part on our website, that's actually a button. If you click to that or click on that, it takes you to our databases. And our records request forms are there if you're going to order from us for the births, the marriages, the deaths. Anything on the right-hand side is a records request form. And then the left-hand side are the searchable databases that we have. Land records, Supreme Court, name changes. We have 100 years worth of name changes ending in 1947. It ends in 1947 because that's when New Jersey got a new state constitution. And as you can see towards the bottom, the military, the Civil War records, The World War I deaths are there. We do have National Guard photographs on our website. Those are all items that you can look at. Oops, sorry. Um, there's agricultural photographs over the years. The WPA photographs that were done in the 30s of different things around the state are there. You can find in the agriculture, if you want to see the blueberry princess, the apple princess, or I even discovered a poultry princess a couple weeks ago. But any kind of agriculture thing you can think of, you're most likely going to find a photograph in there. Most of them are scanned and you can just search through them. So getting to familysearch.org, as I said, the indexes are there for the state census from 1855 to 1915. Some of the vital records are abstracted on there, and you can look at some of the images. And also, one thing to remember, the vital records from June 1878 to December 1900 could be off a year. New Jersey works on a fiscal year, not a calendar year. Family Search took them as a calendar year, so sometimes the dates between January and June are off a year. And their databases will list records as birth records, but they are not always birth records. Sometimes they are baptismal records, but they have just put them in with our state records and listed them all together. These are some of the agriculture photos that you can find from around the state. So what's coming? January 2025, we will have new birth records for their first time in over 25 years. We will take possession from health of the 1924 birth records, meaning the original record and the records on microfilm. So we're going to have new microfilm and new original records. What's great about the original, as I mentioned earlier, we can make a copy if you can't read your 1924 birth. We can certify them if that needs to be done. We are also taking the original marriage records through 1950 in January and the original death records through 1950. We have those on microfilm now, so that's not quite as exciting as the births, but it is another 10 years that we will be able to certify. And also, I know possibly some of you out there have some, because I've heard, have a few records piled up that you haven't been able to read for years that you can now come in and say, hey, can I get a copy of this from the original? It'll take us a while, a couple of weeks to get everything in. So we probably won't be able to access the originals till early February, just so you know, in case you need anything. But the microfilm for the 1924 births will be ready when we reopen after New Year's. And I think that is it.
All right.
We have reached the end.
All right. Thank you so much, John.
Yeah, thanks, Amy.
Well, we can start taking some of your questions now. So if you do have questions, please feel free to use the Q&A or the chat feature in the Zoom dashboard and send it to us, and then we'll be happy to address them. All right, first question. My grandfather owned a tavern in Jersey City. I have the notices that were published in the Jersey Journal, but how do I find a copy of his consumption license and his doing business as name?
I'm assuming it's before 1900, hopefully. We do have some incorporation records. If it was earlier, we may have a tavern license, but I think it would need to be earlier. He can send an email and we could check to see if there is anything to us. Sorry, I didn't write the email down. He can email me directly if he wanted to. jon.bozard@sos.nj.gov. And I can check into it for him.
I just put that in the chat for everybody.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, if anybody needs to email me a question, they can. those of you, if you've used the reference email before, you can also use that, but I did not bring that card in with me. But there's three of us that answer the reference, where if you email me, um, I'm the only one that answers that, but that's okay. I'm not going anywhere soon.
Um, do you have wills for all counties? I'm looking for one from the 1940s filed in Jersey City.
Yes, as long as they had a will, it's handled by the surrogate, and a copy is would come to the state. If they are intestate and they don't have a will, you would need to check the county surrogate papers, which we do have. I don't know the cutoff dates for because it varies from each county, but you could always start with your county clerk. But yes, if there is a will, we should have a copy of it here through 1952.
In relation to the tavern question, it would have been in the 1930s.
Yeah, just the best thing is an email because I know the earlier part we would. It could have been more localized, meaning within the county, and I don't know if those records were kept or not. But just send me an email and I will get it to the right person and we can check for you to see
Um,
what we might have.
could you say again how the Revolutionary War card and slips are organized or searchable?
Yeah, okay. They're not online, so you would have to either request a search or come in and search for yourself. Don't be afraid, come in. We're nice. We will help you. Um, but the card is basically like an index. It gives you an overview of what the soldier did, but it doesn't really give you information. Then there's another reel of microfilm where all the slips are microfilm. So the card will tell you, yes, this person did serve, and it gives you a few things to go look at. Once you get to the slips, that gives you more detailed information. There aren't a lot of muster rolls for that period. There's very few. Much of the records are interest on their pay because many of the soldiers did not get paid right away. Um, and then there is the numbered manuscript collection, which it can be anything. It can be, just information that they served with somebody, Captain so and so or Colonel somebody, um, or information on pay. There are some listings that were done at some point of soldiers together, but they just tend to be a list of names and not like the muster rolls from the Civil War, where you're actually getting a little information about them.
Do you have immigration records from other countries to New Jersey from the 1800s forward?
We will have naturalization records. We don't have ships lists or anything like that. Um, just if they became a citizen is what we would have. There could be, if they came through, say, New York City, there could be something, later period, Ellis Island. Before that, they would have come through Castle Garden. So if they did come through New York, there could be some type of entry record, but that would not be anything that we have.
Who holds the records for the Royal Count Colony, 1707 to 1776?
Wow. um, I know England has some records. Um, we have some records here. Um, if they again email if they have like a specific thing they're looking for, and then I can get back to them with what we do or don't have.
Will Family Search be putting more state archives records on its website?
Um, as far as I know at this point, it is only the early records through 1878. New Jersey, something I didn't really cover. New Jersey is much stricter with vital records than other states, and we have to follow the law that has been established. The records are not considered public, but we do provide access to them. So they cannot be wholesale published on websites or anything. But you can post, this is my grandfather's birth from such and such a year. You can post stuff to Family Search or um, Ancestry, on your tree, but you can't. The records can't be published as a whole year of records or anything like that.
I know a lot of Jersey City records were pulled because of fraud. What category and years are available, and where do you find them?
We have everything here. As far as birth, death, marriage, wills, things like that. In New Jersey, had a limit on them and could not provide copies. That has ended for, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years. Um, so they can try us if Jersey City doesn't have something. Or again, I know I keep saying it, you can always send an email and we can, with what you're specifically looking for. But as far as birth, death, marriage, they should be with us.
Okay. Um, my great-grandfather died at a New Jersey home for disabled soldiers in 1926. Notice online there are 46 item lists listed. How can I view this?
If it is the home in Kearney, we definitely have those records. They're available on microfilm. You can come in and search it yourself in the microfilm room, or you can email us or send us a letter, and we can search it for you. Forgetting, I haven't done one of those in a while. I believe it's a $10 fee to search. I might be wrong on that. But you could always send us an email and just say, hey, I'm looking for a soldier's home record. Um, and we will copy it for you and and email it or mail it out to you. The files vary. Sometimes they all have an application from the soldier when they entered the home. Some have other information about them, but you will get whatever the file is, and we will send it out to you.
It looks like it was the Marlborough home.
Yeah, that we don't have. Some of them, I don't think any of them exist. I'm sorry, all of them exist. If it's Monmouth County, a good site to check with if you haven't already is Monmouth County Archives. They have a website. I would contact them, and if they don't have it, possibly the oh God, I just forgot the name. The Monmouth County Historical Society, sorry, in Freehold. They possibly could have something. But I don't know offhand what happened with the other soldiers' homes. I just know we only have Kearney.
Do you have indexes to or land records for Elizabeth, Union County from 1865 to 1875?
We are not able to search those because we don't own the originals, but on microfilm, we do have, sorry, the index within the county records. The county clerk should also provide access to those, but you can, if you're coming in to do research, you can look through the microfilms for by yourself, and we would help you get started with it and everything.
Do you have any biographical information about the 1793 census of men who were military ready?
We have a book, the published book about it. Um, I do not know if we have more. Sorry on that. But again, if you want, send an email. We'll check it and get back to you. But we do have the published book.
When the archives takes possessions of the original death records to 1950, is it possible that ones that are missing will be found? I'm looking for a death record from Hudson County in 1904.
We already have 1904 here.
I think they're saying that it's not there, so they're wondering
Yeah.
if any of from previous
It,
years will also be included.
no, because we have through 1940 right now, so we have those. Um, it could be a spelling issue. Um, it's always possible, even though it's supposed to be filed by law at that time, that it wasn't filed. Um, you know, are they 100% sure they died in New Jersey? We these are the questions we already always ask. But every now and then it could be missing. Um, some of the records were damaged over time, um, but it's not like a large portion that's missing. Um, they could come in and search. They could send us an email. Or I don't know if they've requested a search from us, but the last resort for us would be to go to the original records and just go through whatever the surname is and see if there's anything. We do also check for similar names, different spellings when we do a search. Um, without knowing exactly what it was, I can only guess, but it's possible that the name was misspelled or misread and filed incorrectly. And unfortunately, it's possible it may not exist.
Do you ta maintain records of Rev War soldiers who served in places of others? Their ancestors served in place of at least three others, according to federal pension files.
We only have New Jersey. So whatever they did in New Jersey, we should have the card and the slip and some information about them, but we won't have records about out-of-state service. And
Um,
that would be the same for the Civil War, just in case anybody's wondering, or World War One.
where would you recommend a search for mental health institution records like Ancora Hospital?
Um, you can email us. I know I keep coming back with that. Um, in many cases, the mental health records are sealed. The best thing to do is just send us an email. Again, it's just New Jersey has more restrictive laws than some other states. Um, but they can email us, and we can see what we would or would not be able to search for them.
In relation to that, we do have the annual reports of New Jersey state asylums here at the New Jersey State Library, and they
Yeah.
are digitized.
Oh,
However, they don't go into individuals' names, but there's information about the different facilities and that. But so it's a way to kind of learn a little bit more, but they won't have individual patients' names or residents'
yeah.
names.
Yeah, we can't even collections like certain things you can look at, but can't if it's a group photograph from say something in the 1930s and there's patients, it can't be published. There's restrictions on that. It's fairly strict in New Jersey. But the annual reports, as you said, there's statistics and things, but um, as far as down to patients themselves, that is fairly well restricted.
Do you know who has records for the Central Railroad of New Jersey?
Uh, we have some, so send off that email and we can let you know what we have.
Are there records for almshouses, specifically one that is sometimes called Snake Hill?
Uh, I am, I want to say earlier, there's a few records. That's not something I work with as much. But again, send that email. We can let you know what might be available.
And where can I find indentured papers from Monmouth County?
I would say try Monmouth County Archives if you haven't already. I don't believe we have those.
I will give it a few more minutes and see if any other
Okay.
questions came in. So, um, yeah, somebody mentioned that for mental health records, you would probably need a judge to unseal it.
Yeah,
If you could.
even technically, if it's 1790, 1800, they're still, the way the law was written, they are still shut down. Um, I know other states aren't like that, but again, it's one of those things where we just have to follow the law that New Jersey has.
Ready. I don't see any more questions. All right, so I think we can go ahead and end it there. If you do think of any other questions, John's email is in the chat. I will also send it in my follow-up email so that you can contact them directly for any other questions that you may have.
Yep.
So, and then check out their website for the most up-to-date information, including any new collections that they may be working on too. So. Again, I'd like to thank you, John, for presenting today, and
Okay.
we appreciate your all the effort that the archives does.
Thanks. We're here to help. We like doing what we're doing. But yeah, thanks for having me.
And then I just would like to thank everybody for attending. As I mentioned before, we do have some other programs coming up, and this program was recorded, so an email will be sent out to everybody with a link to the recording. So, I'd like to end with just say everybody be safe, be well, and have a wonderful National Family History Month.